Hey everybody, welcome back to Carnivore Quest, or if this is your first time laying eyeballs on a Carnivore Quest video, my name is Cassie. I am one half of Carnivore Quest. My husband Larry and I are eating a carnivore diet to reverse illness, disease, aches and pains, and lose a ton of weight. And guess what? It's all happening. So if you're just reading up and learning about the carnivore diet and you've read testimonies and listened to doctors, well, I'm here to tell you, at least from my perspective, it's all true. Welcome to the Proper Human Diet. I have a fun little video for you today. Recently, I was on a live stream with a group of guys, one of them being Mr. Shaun White, Intentional Carnivore, Kip Moore, who is Barbecue Cast Iron Kip. We have Dave Mack from No Carb Life, and Dr. Chaffee. One of the questions I had for Dr. Chaffee was something I've had on my mind quite some time. Larry and I have discussed it off and on. So my question was, if you don't mind, may I ask you a question, Dr. Chaffee? This is something I was very curious about, and I know a lot of our listeners would be too, because a lot of us, we tend to slip. So my question really is, how dangerous is it for us to go from burning fat to burning carbs, getting back into ketosis and back out, when you're weaving in and out of that? How dangerous is that for us metabolically? Or is it just that our body can compensate?
No, our body's pretty good at compensating. If you're not eating carbs for a very long time, for several months, your body's just not going to, to preload insulin in your pancreas. And so this is why some less well thought out studies and people have said that being in ketosis for a long time can increase your insulin resistance, even though your blood sugar is normal the whole time, your insulin is low the whole time. So it doesn't really make too much sense on its face. But then they say, oh, well, you give people in ketosis, long-term ketosis, glucose tolerance test, and it's raised. So that means it's insulin resistance. No, it means the glucose was raised. What's the insulin? Insulin's still low. So it's like, okay, well, then there's no resistance, right? Because insulin's low, right? And then the insulin starts coming up and you get that insulin response and blood sugar comes down. So what's happening there physiologically is that you're just not pre-making the insulin. If you have a chronic exposure to carbohydrates, which are damaging to your body, having those be elevated to such an extent, then your body's going to pre-make insulin because it's like, hey, we've got to be right on the border on this. It's like we have to be right, ready to go. And so you're going to pre-make insulin. It's going to be ready to go. Bang, it comes out. You eat carbs, bang, it comes out. Well, if you're not doing that, you're not exposing yourself to that. You're not going to build up that like tolerance to alcohol, right? If you're drinking a bunch of alcohol all the time, it takes more and more alcohol to get drunk because your body's protecting you more. You build up that tolerance. So you build up these tolerance to carbohydrates with that pre-made insulin, and then you eat carbohydrates after being in ketosis or on a ketogenic diet for a long time, and all of a sudden, you have a bit of a weird response. But in a couple of days, your body will say like, oh, okay, this idiot's eating carbs again. We have to start pre-making our insulin, and so your body adapts pretty quickly. So while you may have a bit of a jump in your blood sugar, that comes down in fairly short order. And then you find that people are actually more insulin sensitive. They need less insulin to get a better response. So their insulin levels actually stay moderately low. They don't have to have these massively high insulin levels in order to bring their blood sugar down to a normal level. And they'll actually get a better response with less insulin, and it'll be quicker. So in a couple of days, their glucose tolerance test will actually be better than the average non-insulin resistant person. So I don't think that there's much of a problem. I don't think there's more of a danger going back and forth than just eating carbs and things like that on a normal daily basis. You're going to be better off in the periods that you're not eating all these carbs and you're just eating what we're supposed to eat, and your insulin level is being maintained at a lower level. The going back and forth, I don't think causes too much problem, except for that initial sort of bump in your blood sugar, which will normalize in a couple of days. The only main thing that's doing to you when you do slip off, is that it's just going to take a bit of time to get back into it. You're going to have a bit of a lag, and you're going to have to sort of get switch on and off the different genes that you need to run optimally without carbs. And so you have a bit of a slip up. This junk is going to stay in your system for a while. You're going to have a bit more inflammation. You're going to have a bit less ketones. You're going to have a bit of these plant, toxins and things like that. They're just going to take a few days to clear out of your system, but they'll go. So you're not kicked off the team. You're not out of the club. If you just sort of slip up, it's these sorts of things happen, and just be mindful of it and say, okay, well, I'm just going to get back on right away. So it's just the main thing is to get straight back on the horse. And so you slip up, you have that thing, and you just use that, and you look at that and it's like, hey, I'm not actually feeling my best. My energy's not great. I'm sore, I'm stiff. I've had a autoimmune flare up, and I don't want that. I don't want that crap anymore. And so use that to gear yourself, and steel yourself against slipping up the next time as well.
That was one of the best answers I had received, because honestly, we weren't sure. Sometimes people, they weave in and out of ketosis all of the time. And I was wondering how that could affect us metabolically. Is it going to slow down our metabolism? Will it damage it? I've heard a lot of different stories, but this question has never been asked, at least not that I paid attention. So I asked, and I love the answer. Thank you again, Dr. Chaffee. The second question that I asked Dr. Chaffee, this one left his head scratching just a little bit, because I don't think he wanted to answer this one and deliver the bad news. And this question was near and dear to me. Now, there was a comment in the live chat, somebody else who had experienced colorectal cancer, like me, and had intestines removed. Well, once you've had work done on your plumbing, it just doesn't quite work right.
Super chat. Thank you very much, Beth. Cassie, I have the same problem for the same reason, colon cancer surgery, but I can't get it to settle down, taking a gamble, leaving the house.
It is a gamble. There is no doubt. And oftentimes it comes without warning. Like I said, you have to time your meals. I found that when I eat pork belly just a little bit too much, like, whoa, that was a big mistake, maybe 1 ounce and not 5, because it's very fatty. We have to learn to adjust now. And this is actually something, I'm glad this got brought up, because I was going to ask Dr. Chaffee about this. Will it ever be normal again? I've roughly have 18 to 24 inches of large intestine that has been removed, once in 2015 and then in 2016. So is there a chance, like with the ox bile, is there something that you might recommend for both Beth and myself to maybe help things out? Or is it the same thing with the gallbladder, that you just got to time your meals? It is what it is, and just keep chugging along.
Well, it's highly individual. And some people do, get, their body does compensate sort of down the road, but, these organs, do have a specific job. And if too much of it is removed, then they aren't able to perform that job, unfortunately. And so if you have your colon taken away, or a large portion of it taken away, its job is to, quite a big job is to, dehydrate, the chyle that's coming out, and just sort of turn that into solid form stool. So if you've got a much smaller area, it's not going to have as much of an ability to do that. And so you might find that you're not able to dehydrate those things as much as you would otherwise. That doesn't mean drink less water, because you don't want to get dehydrated metabolically either. But it's something that unfortunately may continue to cause a problem. There are different surgeries that can cause sort of kinks and turns to sort of slow things down, to solidify a bit more and be a bit more easy on your system. But that's not necessarily a perfect solution. And it's probably not even an option for everybody. And it's probably, something that a lot of people will want to avoid anyway. So unfortunately, it's sort of a time will tell if your body, adjusts, and then you're able to sort of adjust different things that you're eating in a way that affects a change. Great. And it might be that your body is able to sort of compensate in time, but I wouldn't bank on it anyway. You just have to sort of see, and hopefully your body does compensate, and then just, do what you're doing logistically, and try to, eat certain things that don't cause more of a problem. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily going to get better or be perfect anyway. You might have to sort of figure out the best way to deal with the situation, unfortunately.
Well, there's our answer, Beth. Quite frankly, Dr. Chaffee, that was the most disappointing answer I've ever had.
I know. Well, but the thing is, I mean, it could get better, but I mean, there's no guarantee, you know, and so there's, you know, it's very hard to say, you know, if something's going to get better. And however, you know, there are different ways of sort of manipulating things in the way you're eating and what you're doing that can at least improve things in that manner as well. So just sort of find, just like the, you know, the dog's bile, just spacing out your meals. You can do that with bile. You can see if there's different things that you can do that doesn't give you the problems that you would have with other ways of eating. And certainly fiber is not going to help you, because that's just all going to come out in a disastrous sort of fashion. So yeah.
Rather find out.
So either way, what you're doing now is still going to be better and an improvement.
I'm so glad that Beth brought that up, and I've been wanting to ask him and looking for an in. And there was a lot of other conversation going around, and this was the perfect opportunity. So Beth, I really thank you for bringing this up and giving me the opportunity to ask him. It wasn't exactly the answer that I wanted to hear, but my response to that is I would much rather spend a few moments on the toilet than a lifetime of sickness. So again, Dr. Chaffee, thank you for that one. It wasn't exactly the answer that I wanted, but it was the answer that I needed. And who knows, maybe 10 years down the road, it will work itself out. So if anybody out there has wondered about these questions, well, here are your answers from the good doctor. And I hope it gives you a little clarity like it did us. Well, thanks for hanging out for a few minutes, y'all. I appreciate it. And if you got something from this video, whether it be a little information or a chuckle or some encouragement, just let me know in the comments. Did y'all watch the live? If not, I highly recommend it. Until the next time, my family, no sugar, no carbs, no cheating. Thanks for watching, everyone. Is money tight? Check out this next video where we count down our top 10 carnivore diet foods on a budget.